Welcome back to another episode of Homegrown. In this episode, we are joined by head coach Bill Gamble. Coach, welcome in.
Excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for allowing us to do this. And, we just had Nico Marchetti on. And so before we get any further, talk about you and your goals for this program moving forward, let's touch on Nico.
Ooh.
Brand new position. Nico is the head of player development now, as you'd said. How excited are you to have someone like Nico, given his background and, experience in baseball, to lead the kids in your program, youth through high school?
No, it's great. It's a great lead-in. And I think, when you sit back, you got to back up a year a little bit, and where Coach D-Rod and I and our executive team sat down and really looked at this position about not having the right person yet. Mm-hmm. But we really wanted that person to lead player development. And we talk about K to life all the time, but it's really hard to be K to life when a lot of high school coaches, we're heavier in certain seasons, travel coaches are heavier in certain seasons. We need somebody that can drive the content, drive the message, and that works directly with us. Even in those spring times when we have to play more of a passive role. And as we develop that relationship with Coach Nico and continue to see that, his passion, and his for growth and his passion to develop players and the relationships he built, I think we found the right guy for the role we really want to expand and take our entire vision, entire program to a whole nother level. And I mean by that is continuing that tradition of creating this environment of growth, and that's really what, we're balancing competition and growth. And I think when you get those two ingredients, we kind of like that content. And I think the last, decade really has played into that. And there's some history there to kind of show that works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so with you, like you said, you just touched on a couple of things about your mission and growth. So let's backtrack a little bit. This is called Homegrown, right?
Love it.
And your big thing is K to life. You've said that forever. So now he is kind of, would you say, the bridge to that? Since, like you said, you can't be always involved with everything. I mean, you're coaching in the spring. You have guys in different seasons and everything. So with that being said, how excited are you to almost bridge this gap even more? I mean, it's something that you've really preached since you've taken over, of getting the youth travel program and high school program all on the same page. How excited are you to be able to not finally do that, but, do it a little more?
And I think you nailed it with the bridging gap. We're looking for that linchpin. I kind of use that word connectivity. Mm-hmm. And how can we connect that 9U and that 13U travel player with the high school program? And it's the same thing you're doing as high school coaches is how do we connect that freshman, that JV player, and a varsity player? Well, I think we have that linchpin that we've now baked into our culture, if that makes sense, and who is really bought in and understands what it takes and how to get there. And I think that's what we're excited about is he's the correct balance of there's patience involved in there, there's detail, and he understands the micro and the macro view of what we need to win holistically. Mm-hmm. And then still execute the drill work to create a better, cleaner swing. You know what I'm saying? When we're balancing those things, because we want that great swing for the showcase, but yet we got to be able to execute a ground ball to second base, mm-hmm. In certain counts to score that run from third. So there's that holistic view, and he really has that understanding of what we want. And again, I think that's where you're going to see the next step of this program too. Starting to bring back these alumni and these guys that we're starting to get this trust in to help elevate that and again get that connectivity we like.
Absolutely. And so you touched on alumni. We're going to have alumni on Homegrown as this continues. There's just the second episode of it. Let's go to a mission and overall view. Mm-hmm. What is your mission? Nico touched on, baking in failure. We can come back to that. But mm-hmm. as the head coach of this program here at Jackson High School, what is your mission, to start from 8Us, 9Us, all the way to these kids that are graduating?
I think from a personal standpoint is I want to leave, and again, you always want to leave it better than you found it. And at some point, somebody's going to take over as to kind of lead this program. I'm going to hand those keys to somebody at some point, and I want that program and that standard in place. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be Coach Gamble's standard. I want it to be Jackson baseball standard. Mm-hmm. And we talk a lot with our upperclassmen and our leadership groups we've had all summer. We've met all summer, and that's really some of the things that they want to do is reestablish that standard of what we play. And with the COVID year and with the transition year and all of that, I think you're going to see a different style of baseball in 22 and a different, a different level of confidence with that group too. But it's because they're driven to reestablish a standard of Jackson baseball, and at the varsity level. But then we'll see that continue, to be baked in all the way down and into our 14Us now as we're starting to get, our these invested coaches like yourself at the 15U level, and Coach Nico and Coach Coolidge, and Coach Pilata, guys that have played through it, been in the mud, and now are able to reinvest. And I think, to me, that's where you get the best of both worlds. You get elite baseball, and you get guys that get it, that's been there, and that carry some substance and some weight that maybe aren't the old guys and the coaches that they're like, oh, yes, sir. We got the guys that actually been in it and carry some weight and have a voice in there. So that's exciting for where we're going in the future.
Right. And it's been a blast. You give me the opportunity to coach this year at a 15U level, along with Coach Pilata and Coach Coolidge with Nico. It's been a blast, and I think the players have loved it as well. But where I want to take this now is Nico and I, in the first episode, which if you missed it, you can go back and find it on the Jackson Baseball Twitter page, but talked about baking in failure, right? And, baseball is a game of failure. Baseball is probably the only thing that you can do 30% of the time correct, and you're one of the greatest players of all time.
Agreed.
So how do you as a coach both take that for your staff and then players of baking in failure to practice and then also accepting failure when it comes to baseball?
Sure, that's a great point, and that's really where we're battling that mental side, and we talk about it a lot in our program, and you being in this, and Gianni, who's behind the scenes, have been in this, but we talk about I can't get you ready for every environment. I can't train you for what a Final Four is going to feel like. So our goal really is to make you uncomfortable, in a good way, in a positive way. We need to make you uncomfortable. We need to make the training sessions uncomfortable. We need to get you used to being uncomfortable and then performing at an elite or high level. Because I can't say, hey, this is what Huntington Park or Canal Park's going to feel like in the Final Four when everybody's staring at you, and you're there 4.5, 5 hours before. But what I can do is put you in those really, really competitive environments, in those mentally challenging situations to create trust, so you can build off those foundational pieces. So when we go play in an elite game with everything on the line, and we know it's an Elite Eight for a dog pile, that's what we want to do, and we still want you to just unleash it, let it go and get after it. So really, we're trying to get that mental toughness as much, because here's the deal: at the end of the day, we have some elite players and alum that are playing at the next level, and every kid, I wanted to be that, you wanted to be that. But at the end of the day, I want them to be successful students. I want them to be great fathers. I want them to take over their youth program and in the town or city they're living in, and I want them to be able to give that experience to their kids. So it's that kind of like pay it forward, create that standard so they have that experience.
And I would say it also, sets them up for life later on down the road. I believe you did that with not only me, but other kids throughout the program, and now I have the chance to come back and do this for you. And Gianni's the same way, who's behind the scenes with us. So, how much pride do you and your staff take into that as well? Setting up kids beyond baseball, because eventually one day you got to hang up the cleats, whether it's after high school, after college, or if some players, like we've seen from our program, make it to the next level, they're going to have to hang up the cleats someday. So, how much do you focus on also setting kids up for life after baseball? I know you just said that, but.
That's it. I think that's the wheelhouse. My avenue or my workshop maybe is baseball, but we want to create the holistic approach. I want the student athlete who cares about his community, who reinvests, who understands what it's like to be a great example. We use that a lot when our Bears analogy, but the example's so big for me. And you see that with some alum that we'll probably have on here, in the future. But they're great examples. Guys that'll be in the dugout, guys that'll leave the locker room clean, the guys that know how to do those type of things, because they're going to be the guys you want to hire. Those are going to be the ones I want to coach for me. There's going to be the VP is going to want, and the human resource guys. I want that person. I want that dude. I want her. I want those people that have been involved in our program. And I think that's where, looking back, you don't get into the coaching business and go, that's what I want. But I think as you're developing this as a coach, and I'm speaking as a head coach here, that's kind of the things you look at and you go, man, I'd love to be able to do that, but you got to win. You got to get buy-in. You got to get all things. But once you get it, I tell this to other programs too when they're getting there. What do you do with it? And I think we, looking at our history, we got there, done some really good things in some dog piles and at different levels. Mm-hmm. So what do you do with it? And I think that's what we're really trying to do: is surround our young men and our boys with great examples, great role models, so they have a foundational piece. And I think that's where you're going to be able to use that.
I completely agree. One thing that you mentioned in there that I want you to be able to expand on and talk about a little bit, because with these coming out, weekly, there's going to be, like we said, the youth kids being able to watch this. We're going to have, parents that are coaching our youth levels, and then all the way up through the high school program. You mentioned Bears. For you and your staff in this program, Bears goes deeper than just saying Jackson Polar Bears. Kind of expand on that, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd back up to like 15, 16 when you guys were in, and we really, I felt like we didn't have that mission statement. We didn't have that, like, what are we? If you'd asked a different coach, he might give you a good example or a good, what's Jackson baseball about? And I felt like you were getting all good answers, but maybe not like, what are we? And we really sat down as a staff and we did our coaching development, and we said, what are we? Like, what do we hang our hat on? And we came up with this Bears analogy for the basketball, basketball, where believe, example, attack, relentless, and speed. And you think those type of characteristics or foundational pieces are what, if we're doing those things, I think we're doing it right holistically too. You play with the relentless and speed. How many times, because you're handling failure. You're handling adversity. You're playing at a fast rate. Practice is fast. And we want those type of things. But just as much as we want people in attack mode. Like, those are the people you want to hire. You know what I mean? I want those guys in the foxhole with me. But it all starts with belief. I think we said that in 14 the most. Coach Vuk. When we were talking, because we were in the unknown charted waters in 14, and he sat down and he says, look, man, I remember this specifically. He's like, so we believe, but do you believe? And believe, because you got to believe in what we're saying. You got to believe in each other. And I think that's where it all starts, because it comes back to trust. And you saw it in the College World Series. You see it in NBA Finals, any championship atmospheres. There's trust. There's holistic trust. So I think that's kind of where we came around with it. And it still stays with us because it plays out to foundational pieces that lead to success, but lead just as much as to foundational pieces that these young men and boys can use, in football, in the speech and debate, in the classroom. So that's kind of where it came from and kind of originated.
And that makes complete sense, and we see it all throughout not only this facility, but on the jerseys now when teams take the field, and it's something that will be preached, and you've already been preaching to your entire program, whether it's 8s, 9s, 10s, through high school seniors, and that's part of the K to Life mission you have in the Homegrown, and part of the reason this is called Homegrown. And with that being said, Coach, I thank you for hopping on for this episode. I thank you for giving Gianni and I the opportunity to start something like this up, and look forward to seeing where this goes. I
love it, man. You guys are doing a great job, and looking forward to some outstanding episodes here in the future.
Thank you very much. This has been another edition of Homegrown. Stay on the lookout for another episode dropping on the Jackson Baseball Twitter and YouTube channel. We'll see you when we see you.